Welcome to Unleashed at Work and Home, the show dedicated to helping veterinarians, vet techs, dog trainers, shelter and rescue workers, pet sitters, and all the other animal crazy pet professionals manage their stress and find more joy. I'm your host, Colleen Pilar, and I'm thrilled you're here with us today. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on your favorite app so that you won't miss a single episode. This episode is brought to you by our free community, the Circle of Resilient and Thriving Pet Professionals. If you like the ideas shared here, then you're invited to continue the conversation with other lifelong learners in the community. You can find out more at colleenpilar.com. It's the perfect place for you to learn cool stuff, feel good, and take action to create the life you love. Come join us. Welcome back to Unleashed at Work and Home. My guest today is Kathy Wolff from Mosaic Dog Training. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so glad to have you today. So, just to dive in, we had a little excitement trying to get ourselves started here today. And then we hit record and I messed up your business name because something apparently is tricky about Mosaic Dog Training. I don't know why. Tell me a little bit about Mosaic. How did you choose Mosaic? Because that's such a beautiful word.
Thank you. Yeah, it kind of came around because when I looked at starting what I do, I wasn't exactly sure what direction it was going to take.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a fitness professional in my town for many, many, many years. And I went from teaching, fun dance aerobics to more of a mind-body cardiovascular exercise. And I found that kind of brought me it made me feel good to know that I was helping people feel better about themselves. And so I was kind of wasn't sure where exactly all this with dogs was going to go. So Mosaic means taking several different unique pieces and putting it together to create a big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I even created my logo, it's a dog paw, and the pad is kind of a heart, mosaic heart, and then each of the toes has got different designs in it. So that's kind of my vision of what my journey is. So it really, and that was way at the beginning. It's over 10 years ago. And so it's kind of interesting how now that I'm here, where I feel that my path has really opened up and I can see the big picture, how appropriate that logo is. But that's kind of because Mosaic means taking a whole bunch of different pieces and putting it together to create the big picture. I was going to say it's very transcendent because in all the different facets of the work I do and what I offer, that taking all the pieces to create that picture, it just fits in all the different little cubbies.
I've always loved the idea of mosaics as well. And I have always seen the community of pet professionals as a mosaic. Like none of us can do the whole thing, but each of us is adding a beautiful piece that is unique. Each person is contributing one little bit. And I love stained glass and mosaics and just seeing how you zoom in and there's beauty in the tiny bits and you zoom out and you're just stunned by how it all comes together and creates something much bigger and broader than you ever could have imagined, and often far more complex. But when you're in the weeds and just doing your little piece, it can be really helpful to know you're just doing your little piece and all around you are other people just doing their little piece. I think there's even an origin myth from one of the religions. I want to say Judaism, but I'm not sure. And it says that there was a beautiful image of the world and it was shattered and the pieces got spread all over. And our job is to just be looking all around us. And when we find a piece, bringing it to the area in which they will all be collected. And so we're just doing our little bit to find our pieces of the mosaic and bring them together. So
I love that. Yeah, because the dog behavior industry really is a community,
mm-hmm.
and we all play a part in that community. Be it I consider myself kind of like the family dog, like before you bring your dog home, when you bring your dog puppy home or your dog home, and how can we get you going on the right foot? And so I kind of look at my piece of the mosaic as being that, but knowing that I have the other pieces of the mosaic out there in my colleagues and my friends that I can call on and say, hey, can you help me with this big picture? That is really cool. I never thought of it that way, but that's it. That's exactly right.
It's kind of
I
cool.
love that story.
It's an interesting piece. I always like to learn the story of how people became the pet professional that they are, and of course, we have a whole variety of pet professionals in our group here, but, you went down the dog training path, but you said earlier you'd been a fitness professional, so I'm curious if we take you all the way back to being 10 years old, what did you think you were going to be? And walk us through how you went from there to here.
Oh, well, when I was 10, I was actually living in Canada, and my father was a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, the guy with the hat and the red serge suit. And I always thought that somehow, some way, I was going to be involved in his career because I always looked up to him, and he taught me so much about so many things. And but then life would have it. I met my first husband. I moved down here when I was young, and that's how I kind of started with the whole fitness path because I was a young mom and didn't have to work full time. So I was able to get on this fitness path. But the one constant throughout everything from 10 years old on was golden retrievers. I grew up with one. I was my dad's little hunting buddy, and we'd go hunting together. And so we always had dogs, and they've always been a part of my life. And so then it just kind of grew from there. As I said, I went into the fitness industry and then started working for a health club. But then I wanted to even take it a step further, and I ended up right now. I'm celebrating 35 years as a career non-clinical in our city hospital, and I started in surgery as a um, surgery scheduler. Then I went into physical therapy, which is kind of like the niche where I wanted to be. But in that process, we lost our golden retriever to cancer, and we were looking to see which DNA group we'd like to bring into our family now,
Mhm.
and I'm from Canada. I'm from the prairies of Canada. It's all cold. And there's always snow, and we're always out there in the snow. And so my husband liked being outside, and so we started investigating different breeds and landed on Alaska Malamutes, and was blessed enough to find a beautiful woman who ran the most amazing rescue and paired us up with our first beginner Alaskan Malamute. And
Is
it
there
just
such
kind
a
of went
thing
from
as a
there.
beginner Alaskan Malamute?
Well, Cody was a little bit older and a little bit quieter. And so we started with Cody. And then this is kind of where it all kind of came full circle is our next, after Cody passed, we adopted Thunder. And Thunder and I went to dog training classes together and at the local kennel club. And they were like, well, if you want to train too, then you get a discount on your dues. And so I just started, and I started with them, and I started meeting people like Nicole Wild and Dr. Patricia McConnell, and started walking the force free, training path. And it just kind of blossomed from there. And here I am about 15 years later from actually starting my journey to now. So Thunder and I were blessed enough to bring the therapy dog program to my local hospital, and that took a little bit of extra training. And then I really, I think, solidified my love of gentle methods and the force free movement with my youngest Malamute. We used to live with three in the house, long coats. I also do spinning because I have lots of fiber. And if I'm going to wear it, it may as well be fashionable, right?
Hmm.
Um, and Cree was, if we would have started with Cree, I don't know that we would have gotten any more Alaskan Malamutes. He was everything I'd learned up to that point. I was able to help guide him, and he taught me so much. And I just wanted to pass that legacy on as much as I can.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Tell me a little bit about the spinning. I've heard about people doing that, and I think it's so interesting. I had an elk hound mix previously, and his fur was so soft and, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, everywhere.
Everywhere.
So I kept joking that I was going to learn to do it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I just learned from friends of mine. I belong to a group of ladies that are very eclectic themselves, and I was actually gifted an antique spinning wheel. Like if you think of Cinderella,
Mhm.
you would think of that would be the wheel you would think of. It's wooden and it's laced together with leather, and Gypsy has her quirks. I have to kind of get used to how she feels when I spin with her. But when you spin with certain fibers, such as Malamute or Angora or most dog fur, you have to usually blend that with some sort of wool, sheep wool. Because if you would look at a strand of sheep wool and a strand of dog fur underneath a microscope, the dog fur is very smooth, whereas the sheep wool has kind of got little ridges on it.
Mhm.
And so if you spin, like when I spin Malamute just as Malamute, the yarn kind of just goes whoop to nothing because it doesn't grab on itself. It's really hard to stabilize that kind of wool. So you add in a little bit of sheep wool, and what you do is you take two combs that kind of look like really big dog brushes, and you just kind of and blend it all together, and you pull that off in a little sausage roll, it looks like, and you spin that. And that helps stabilize the Malamute. So it's usually a combination of a barbed fiber and the animal fiber.
So interesting. And then what have you done with this when you've used it?
Well, what I did for a bit when I had a little bit more time was I created beanie hats,
Mhm.
and I would I don't knit. I coordination just didn't work, but I could crochet. So I did crochet. I would get I would just get, go to Walmart or Hobby Lobby or whatever and get some fun fibers, and I would crochet, and then I would put about 4 rows of Malamute blend in there, and then crochet the rest of it. And then I had, well, it was so long ago, I don't remember what was on the tag. I had a little tag, and I think it said rescue, rescue love, rescue shelter love, something or other. But anyways, so much of the money that I made from
Mhm.
the beanies went to different rescues. So I did that. And other than that, I really haven't done a whole lot. I've done some fiber art, just, some weaving of it, things like that. But it's been, to be honest, it's been a long time since I've sat down at my wheel, and she's sitting there looking at me right now going, hello. But it's very meditative when you get into
Mhm.
the mode of spinning and feeding the wheel and just letting it do its job. It is very meditative. And I love it. A lot of times in the fall I would take it out on my deck, listen to the birds, and the dogs would lay around me, and it was just very serene and surreal.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. That sounds fun.
Mhm. It is. And it's not hard to learn.
Well, my current dog is not the prodigious shedder that Enzo had been, but boy, was I inspired by him because it was everywhere, and it was he was so soft, and
Mhm.
just the volume of fur in my house was
Yeah.
incredible. So, the thought of
Yeah.
living
I,
with
I
3
understand.
Malamutes, I'm pretty sure my husband would be just about out the door.
Well, let's say we bought a Dyson
Mhm.
once, and it did not take long for that Dyson to stop working. So we just like, well, okay, $50 vacuum cleaners. When that one stopped working, we got another one because nothing could stand up to the volume of hair that they interestingly enough, Indigo, who's all three of Thunder, Luna, and Kree have all passed over. And we have adopted a girl, 3.5-year-old, or she'll be 4 next month, female. And she has got a beautiful coat. She's not long coat, she's not short. She's kind of right in the middle. And she's got a massive coat, but she doesn't have much guard hair. So, or maybe, pardon me, not much undercoat. So there's not a whole lot of shedding that goes on with her, which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still have plenty of fibers. Right.
So
Exactly.
tell me what is similar about being a fitness instructor and about being a dog trainer?
Well, I've thought a lot about that, and the end of my yellow brick road is a wellness center for humans and for canines, and to bring them both together.
Mm.
In because I think when you are a fitness professional, at least for me, I worked more in mind body, not so much thin thighs and flat stomach.
Mhm.
Um, Helping that person feel good about themselves as they're reaching their goals, helping them normalize goals, helping them be okay with who they are and how they feel, and just being really supportive of them and their goals, and helping them the best way to meet their goals, and just to really validate who they are and how they feel. And I really feel that's the message that I carry to my guardians when I work with a team, is that they have these wants, needs, desires, and expectations. And absolutely, I'm listening. But I want you to also know that your dog has wants, needs, desires, and expectations. And I'm going to help you hear what they have to say too. And then together, we're going to bring it to the middle, and we're going to create a life that both you and your dog are going to find enriching and find joyful and meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. And you also do end of life work and grief work with some of your clients. And several of my recent guests have also developed those skills. Like that there has been a need and a calling within them, and it led them to go deeper into that. I'm curious if you could tell me a little bit about how that came up for you.
Well, in 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 my travels and just meeting my mentors like Kathleen Prasad, who is the creator of the Let Animals Lead meditative animal Reiki practice method. Meeting Laura Donaldson, who is trauma informed, and being her moderator and learning from her, and just the Andrew Hale, the people I've met along the way that are trauma informed, um, that take a more like a relationship path,
Mhm.
that really spoke to me. And I like the idea of the Reiki work. So I'm now a master for the Let Animals Lead Animal Reiki method. But within that, I realized one day that what I'm doing when I work with a team with my guardian and their dog is I'm asking them to create a relationship with them, like with each other. I'm wanting them to create a relationship with their dog, to see deeper, to go deeper, to listen deeper, and to um, see them as an integral part of the family, an integral part of their life. And I realized one day that when I'm asking them to open their minds and their hearts to that at at one point in their lives, they're going to have to say goodbye to this being that they've created this intimate relationship with. And so when my 3 passed, I mean, I understand what they're going to go through eventually, and I can't make that pain any less for them. But what I can do is I wanted to be able to say, okay, if I'm asking you to create this relationship here, I want to support you through that part of the relation, that transitional point, that tender point, and the most sacred and intimate point of your relationship. I want to support you through that because I feel that that's part of my work is to help support them. If I'm asking them here, I need to support them here. And so I did some research and met another, like a sister to me, Julie, who actually took the program through the University of Vermont's end of life doula program.
Mhm.
And she and I became friends, and she helped me through some of the parts of it. So I took the course through the University of Vermont and got my professional certificate to be an end of life doula for companion animals. And that way, I feel um, I will be able to offer compassionate support from hello to the goodbye. And I think that that's yeah. I feel that's I want to bring that, and I want to be able to offer that to my clients if they want that intimacy in that relationship. I want to make sure that I have the tools to be able to support them.
You're reminding me of a quote, and I'm trying to pull it up exactly. There's I wanna say it's C.S. Lewis, that says, like, bereavement should be considered a stage of relationship just as much as, like, the honeymoon stage and and that our goal is to carry on our piece of that relationship even when the other
Mhm.
has gone, and I will find it and link it in the show notes so that I'm not misquoting or attributing to someone who it isn't. But that concept, I think, is really beautiful because we can't make the pain less, and we don't want to hold back from the relationship when we have the opportunity, like, let's be all in. But the more all in we are when we're together, the the more likelihood it is that it's going to be a very difficult and painful separation, and to have that separation be a stage of this relationship that, like, I still love you and you're not here with me. And what does that look like now?
Mhm.
I think that's a beautiful piece. I always ask my guests to share some words, and I believe this is the first time the quote that the guest is going to share has just come out in her natural language as you were speaking. So you said earlier you encourage people to see deeper, go deeper, and listen deeper. And the words you shared with me are listen deeper. Talk to me a little bit about listen deeper and what that means to you, how it came into your life, like why these words as your words that you'd like to focus on.
Well, I think when it comes to sharing space with other beings, other, sentient beings, be it an animal, be it a human, there's so much communication, so much of the story that isn't just words. And if you can be in that space, not be distracted, um, be open to listen, to hear, not listen to respond, then you're going to better understand and better be able to support that person or that animal. And so learning to listen deeper to me means to to open up the possibility of hearing all those different layers of communication,
Mm.
um, to get the full picture. And then you can go forward in an informed way and support them in the best way that I know how to do with the information. And if I have to ask more questions, to get a better understanding, then, then I'm going to do that. And it's funny because it almost seems like the animals taught me that first, to know to listen deeper because watching for the meta signals, watching for the movement, watching for the little tiny, behaviors that they do. and then opening my ears and opening my eyes and opening my nose to what's around me as to how that affects um, their their behavior, what their information that they're telling me. And then it's interesting because when I took my course for my end of life doula for companion animals, that's where it even kind of opened up a bit more, where it's like, animals know how to die, and it doesn't, from what I've read and from what I understand, it's not as scary as it is for us. To them, it's a transition to another realm. So this course I took was more all about supporting the human end of the
Mhm.
equation and of the relationship. And so learning more how to listen, to hear, and to understand, before we speak, and not listening just to respond, and being a story listener versus a storyteller, and going deeper with that. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do because you always want to be that one step ahead. Oh, this is happening, so I got to remember to tell her this, or this is happening, so I got to remember to tell her that. In the end, we have to just believe that the conversation we have, on whatever level we're having it, is the right conversation for that right moment.
I do believe that, but I didn't for a long time.
Takes a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have any tips for people who can feel that they are in struggle or doubt about whether the conversation they're having is the right conversation? When you show up as yourself in this moment with a desire to serve, how it is okay.
It's a hard one. I struggle with it on a daily basis, but just to be able to, I think the best thing you can do for yourself to have that confidence is to be with yourself when you can. Take 5 minutes to sit and breathe. Take 5 minutes to feel your feet on the floor and your butt in a chair. Take 5 minutes just to let your thoughts float away like clouds, and just listen to your heart and know that you will always do the best you can in any given situation. Nobody ever goes into a situation to help another by going, "Well, I don't really feel like doing this today. I'm not gonna, whatever." I truly believe that all my colleagues and anybody that's in this profession is going in with always the best intentions. So believe that you are doing the best you can do, and you're going to say the best thing that you can at that time, you know, and be able to just say, okay, when you walk away from that interaction, say, okay, I've done the best I can do, and that's all you can.
Mhm. Yeah. And that our best varies from day to day, moment to moment,
Mhm.
conversation to conversation, and that
Mhm.
the needs aren't the same either. So, it's not helpful or productive to compare how we were on Tuesday versus how we were now, because not only are you different now than you were on Tuesday, but it's perhaps a different client or a different time of day or a different dog or a different, so many variable. Everything else is different. Even
Mhm.
if it is the same client and the same dog a few days later, it's still different for them as well. So yeah, having this, like, we're always doing the best we can with what we have available, and really trying to have some compassion for everyone, for that. Like, it's okay. We are showing up and meeting ourselves and them where we are, and moving forward from there. So, if I could give you a magic wand, and with that wand you could grant one wish of your choosing for all pet professionals, what is the wish that you would be bestowing upon us? What would you grant to us or for us?
I guess I would grant everyone the ability to listen deeper, to really be able to open up, um, to each other, to our clients, to the animals that we guide, and just really be able to listen deeper. And I know we do. I know we do. We all do. But I think that, eh, like I said, on a daily basis, I'm constantly, reinventing the wheel on that. But just to be able to open our minds to everything around us when we're in a particular environment with our clients, with the animals that we guide, and just really listen to all of it. And sometimes take that deep breath when we need to.
Hmm. Thank you. That's beautiful. If people wanted to learn more about you and your work, how could they do that?
You can look me up on, I have a website, www.mosaicdogtraining.com. I also have a Facebook page, and my Facebook page is a little bit more the day to day. But if you want to dig a little deeper into my offerings as far as my guidance classes, my life skills classes, the education offerings that I have, I do work virtually. And Reiki is one of those things that there is no distance in Reiki work. So I can always offer any Reiki work, and as well as my end of life doula work, I can do wherever. Um, but there's a lot more information on pooey, my website. Um, and so, feel free. There's a way to contact me there. And I look forward to anybody who feels that I would be able to help them out.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for talking with me today, Kathy. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Thanks for listening to Unleashed at Work and Home. I invite you to come learn more at colleenpilar.com, where you can be steady, be strong, and be long. Hi, it's Colleen. I'm popping back in because after this call, I got curious about the story that I had mentioned that I couldn't remember the details of, and it has resonated with me on and off over the years, but I didn't know how to find it again. So I did a little hunting, and I would like to share with you what I found so that it can refresh the details for me and perhaps, give you a little bit of joy too. So it seems that the story that I had heard in the past was from the Jewish mysticism known as Tikkun Olam, or repairing the world. And the basic idea is that God created vessels to hold divine light when he created the universe. And these vessels were meant to contain the fullness of the divine essence of everything, of beauty and love and light, but they shattered under the weight of all of that. And the shards of the vessels, along with sparks of divine light and inspiration, were scattered throughout the world. And the story says that this cosmic event represented a fragmentation of the unity of all the beings on the world. So now, after this fragmentation, humanity's role is to find and gather these scattered sparks of divine light that are embedded within the world. They're all over the place. They're around us. Through acts of kindness and love and the pursuit of justice, people can reassemble the fractured elements of this divine masterpiece. And the effort, the work to gather these pieces is called Tikkun Olam. And it symbolizes the process of spiritual and ethical repair, both personally and collectively as a group. So that is the story that I had heard years ago and couldn't remember the details of during this conversation. But I've always kind of liked the idea of each of us doing our part, our little bits of hunting around and finding something beautiful and making sure that it's not lost, picking up, collecting it, cherishing it, and bringing it and sharing it with others. So there you go. That's the story. Thanks so much for listening in, and we will catch you next time.